Yeah. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this session. So this is a session that is taking place as part of the Path to Ottawa, which is what comes before the Ottawa Conference of the Environmental Peacebuilding Association. So this session will talk about the environmental impact in Gaza, and specifically the assessment done by the UNEP through two of its reports. So reports published in June 2024 and September 2025. But first, so that was just a brief introduction. First, perhaps Clementine can talk about the Environmental Peace Building Association and the Path to Ottawa.
Yes, thank you so much, Fleva, for the introduction. So I'm indeed representing the Environmental Peacebuilding Association, or EnPAx. It's a global membership network that brings together researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and of course organizations working at their intersection of environment, conflict, and peace. Our goal is very simple. It's to strengthen collaboration, share evidence and practice, and of course support the work that uses environmental action as a pathway to peace. One of EnPAC's core activities is organizing the International Conference on Environmental Peacebuilding, which takes place every 2 years, and the fourth edition will be held in Ottawa, Canada in June 2026. So this conference is a major global gathering for the field, bringing together people from different regions, different sectors to share research, case studies, practical tools, and of course to build partnerships that continues beyond the event itself. Leading up to that conference is what we call the Path to Ottawa, which today's event is part of. It's a global series of events taking place from 2025 to June 2026. These are regional, national, and thematic dialogues organized by EnPAX members and partners. And the idea is to broaden participation, surface regional partners and perspectives. That's a bit about the conference. And if you are interested, there are several ways to get involved with EnPAX. You can participate in or organize a Path to Ottawa event, submit proposal to the conference, or simply take part in the discussions and network that form around it. You can also join EnPAX as a member, either individually or institutionally. And these memberships give you access to like conference, interest group webinars, but of course a global community working on this topic. So yeah, if you're interested in contributing to the field or connecting your work to a global network, EnPAX is definitely a good place to start, and the Path to Ottawa is a great entry point. Thank you so much, Lueva. I'll let you resume for the introduction.
Thank you. And thank you for introducing the conference and EnPAX. The Monino also posted the link to the conference, so you can take a look in the chat. I would like to introduce the event, and also so this event is organized by the Transitional Justice Interest Group that I and Monini co-chair. The interest group is one of the various interest groups of EnPAX, and we focus on transitional justice and specifically incorporating environmental considerations into transitional justice discussions in different contexts. And so today we're going to talk about the conflict in Gaza and the environmental aspects, so the environmental impacts of the conflict. This session will look into the assessment made by the UNEP on environmental impacts in Gaza. We'll draw upon its first report about preliminary assessment and the more recent one published a few months ago in September 2025 about the environmental impacts in the escalation of the conflict in the Gaza Strip. I would like to introduce the speakers for this session who will share their insights on those reports. The first speaker is Mazin Qumsiyeh, who is from the Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability. He will be talking about environmental justice in the context of Palestine. Abeer Butmeh, who I think hasn't been able to connect yet, but who will hopefully be able to join us later. He is from the Palestinian Environmental NGO Network, PENGON, or also called Friends of the Earth Palestine. He will speak about the environmental impact assessment of the war in Gaza, and specifically about the sampling and testing aspects. And the last speaker today will be Ali Helal Abdou from EcoPeace Middle East. He will talk about water and wastewater systems in Gaza and the immediate environmental risk and priority recovery measures. So we can start with the first presentation. So it will be the three presentations by the speakers, and which will last about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll move to a Q&A session by the audience. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat during the presentations, and we'll address them at the end of the discussion of all the presentations. So yeah, now I'd like to give the floor to Mazin Qumsiyeh if you are ready. Yes. Hello, are you able to start the presentation now, or yeah, as you want?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for doing this. How long do you all want me to talk for? 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
Would be ideally between 15 and 20 minutes, but we can also let more time for the discussion for questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to be brief and leave time for question and answers. But basically, a situation in Palestine from the beginning of the Zionist project is a situation of environmental injustice, and how we address this environmental injustice. I think we have to follow what we do in the medical field. My background is medical genetics, and in the medical field, we have 5 pillars of modern medicine that we do, which is take a patient history, you make the right diagnosis based on the symptoms. So you take patient history and then symptoms, and then you make a diagnosis. And number 4, you make a therapy, you apply therapy, and then you give the patient a prognosis, what's going to happen. So brief patient history, this is part of the Fertile Crescent. Palestine is a very important part of the world. It's also the intersection of continents. It's where humans migrated out of Africa, because it's this land bridge basically between Africa and Eurasia. It's also an area that not only humans migrated through, but also birds migrate through Palestine annually, back and forth between Africa and Eurasia. There used to be 500 million birds that migrated. We did some studies on some of this and the decline in biodiversity that happened, especially in the last 120, 140 years, basically of the Zionist European invasion of our land. Like all colonizers, this invasion damages the environment. And it starts like with the British in Australia or in North America, United States, or in South America with the Spaniards, of trying to reshape a country, to remodel the country to reflect what they have left behind. In most cases, of course, it's Europe. So what they have left behind in Europe has certain landscape, certain fauna and flora. So they want to reshape the country to reflect what they left behind. That includes bringing invasive species like foxes for fox hunts in Australia and things like that. In our case, of course, the European invaders had the same idea. So, for example, they destroyed millions of native trees, both wild trees and domestic trees, and planted Pinus halepensis pine tree monoculture, and that damaged the environment. This started actually in the 1920s and continues to this day. So for 100 years, it has been going on. They also brought over 420 invasive species of plants, and they brought many invasive species of animals. And of course, they brought militarization to the country, a country that was largely pastoral. They wanted to transform it and make it a European industrialized country with most of its equipment and other exports, software, etc., is related to military. So obviously, this militarization of our environment is a significant impact on the local fauna and flora. We studied all of this, and I won't spend too much time talking about all the details of it because of lack of time, but I will mention just a couple of examples of the larger scale impacts. One I mentioned already, the destruction of trees. This is one of the worst destructive colonial systems in terms of tree cover. There are others that rivaled it. For example, in the US, only 3% of the virgin forests are left thanks to European colonization. Here, it's about the same percentage. But anyways, what happened also in other areas is equally important. For example, draining of the wetlands of the Hula area, Hula Lake and Hula wetlands. 219 species disappeared thanks to this mega project, as they call it. Another mega project was a diversion of the water of the Jordan River Basin from Lake Tiberias in the north to the west, which made the Jordan River basically stop being a river. It's now a tiny stream. It dropped as a result of this mega project from 1,350 million cubic meters per year to only 20 million cubic meters per year. That's barely a stream, no wider than the stretch of my hands, basically, in most places. So it's no longer a river, it's a polluted stream at that. That resulted in the extinction and loss of many species. And of course, the militarization of the landscape had a huge impact. Militarization, whether you can talk about militarization and military activities, both before conflict, during conflict, and after conflict. And I use the word conflict kind of with a quotation mark around it, because this is not really a conflict like between two states or anything. This is a conflict between indigenous people and colonizers. Indigenous people with hardly anything, the colonizers, as always, with lots of weapons and technology and resources and support from other countries, have devastated our environment, So pre-conflict, for example, military training zones, developing infrastructure that serves the military and the colonial settlers, and so on, building walls, for example, like the apartheid wall that's now inside here in the West Bank. I'm, by the way, speaking to you from Bethlehem ghetto. It's one of many ghettos that's increasingly surrounded by walls and checkpoints and gates, which don't allow the local people to free to move or anything. So that all of these are what we call pre-conflict activities that damage the environment, and we publish papers, for example, on the impact of the apartheid wall on the biodiversity. And during conflict, of course, things accelerate. You know that in Gaza, for example, on the UNEP reports and other reports, we did our own studies also using remote sensing satellite images to look at tree cover destruction in Gaza. And we just submitted a new paper 3 weeks ago about the habitats of rare and endangered species and how the basically carpet bombing of Gaza, literally carpet bombing of Gaza, that damaged most of the residential buildings, the hospitals, the universities, etc., also damaged the natural habitats, and also the tree cover of cultivated trees like olives and figs and almonds and palm trees. We studied just about every tree in Gaza. We know what happened to it. Also destruction of greenhouses and so on. So in the Gaza Strip, the habitat and the ecosystem and the agricultural system are largely completely destroyed, 94, 95%. In some cases, for example, in a couple of rare species, we found that 100% of their habitats have been damaged. So likelihood of recovery is going to be very low. This is what we term ecocide or environmental nakba. And this is, of course, a crime against nature, a crime against humanity. It's illegal per international law. Even the existing international law, as weak as it is, it's illegal by that law. So this brings me to the crux of the issue, which is this environmental injustice with all its ramifications that made life, basically, the Gaza Strip is uninhabitable for people now. And the people there are inhaling, for example, dust and so forth from the rubble that's now contaminated by things like depleted uranium and white phosphorus and other chemicals that the bombing has done. The health impact is incalculable. I want to just make sure that you understand that a lot of this cannot be measured clearly now because of the situation. And sometimes, even if the situation was open, we're able to do research. It might take years and decades to do the appropriate studies. For example, the increase in cancer rates might take a few years to pick up, as happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and so forth. So there's always a delay in the developing the studies and implementing them to study these things. However, there's enough information, including the report that you shared and others. There's now, I collected a database actually of environmental injustice in the Palestinian areas, and I have over 1,200 references, research papers, etc., resources on the environmental injustice. Just in the past 2 years and 3 months, the attack on Gaza, there has been actually a proliferation of publications including ours. We published 6 research papers on the Gaza Strip, but there has been others. So my estimate is there's at least 100 new research papers just in the past couple of years on the Gaza Strip and its environmental impact. I'm talking about research papers, not reports like the UNEP report or other reports, but there are, of course, many also reports from groups, including PENGON and REACH and many other groups, including also our group, Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability. If I go back to my medical analogy, the diagnosis, of course, is displacement, settler colonialism, which is always damaging to people and the environment. And we talked about patient history and some of the symptoms. That leaves therapy and prognosis. The prognosis is very grim, I'm sorry to say, for this situation. I mean, Trump and Netanyahu and his group, they think they can now bulldoze what's left of Gaza on top of the skulls of all the Gazan people and build Rivieras, kind of what happened in places like Bali and others where genocide was committed, and then they have resorts. But in our case, of course, it would be on steroids and much higher level of destruction. So I don't think they can do what they did in Bali and others in the US and Hawaii and other places where, you know, they kill native people and build resorts and so on. In this case, the resorts will be also polluted. The Mediterranean Sea is already heavily polluted thanks to this ongoing ecocide, genocide, and scholasticide, and medicide, and veriticide, also a destruction of truth, because there's there's all the propaganda that they push on us for this. So the prognosis is rather bad, but to help it, we need to work. That's the part that I call therapy, and that includes resistance. And we are resisting, and there are a lot of people resisting. And we published papers also about resistance to ecocide. I'm happy to share those papers with the audience. One way of resistance, of course, is to build institutions like us, like ours, in the Gaza Strip and other places that are directly impacted. We're already dealing with the environmental catastrophe in the West Bank, and we're doing a good job at it in some levels. In some levels, we are not doing a very good job, and we need to pick it up. But this is needed more to have institutions like ours, which is the Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability, which is an institute interested in sustainable human and natural communities. And it works in areas like research, education, conservation, and community service. We already have the concept for this institute in Gaza, and we hope we can implement it sooner than later. Every day is, of course, a loss, because every day more trees are lost, more people are lost, more habitats are lost. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If you like, you can share some links in the chat for people to look at. So the research you mentioned, the work of the institute. Now, the second speaker, I believe, hasn't been able to join the session, so we'll move directly to the third speaker, Ali Abdou, who will be talking about water and wastewater systems in Gaza. If you're ready, yeah, you can feel free to start.
Thank you, Olivia. Just like that, our colleague Abeer will not able to join. She had a car accident in her way, and she's okay, but
Okay.
there was, yeah, she's now, in investigation with the insurance and police. She's very sorry, and she excused. Maybe she will join later, but inshallah,
Yeah.
she will be okay.
Okay, yeah. Sorry to hear.
Okay, so I hope my presentation will be satisfied. Like Dr. Mazin, he's much popular than me, and he had more deep experience, technical and scientific experience. From my side, my name is Ali Abdou. I just need to start my presentation. 1 minute. Okay. Oops. Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet.
Okay, no. I
Yes, now we
think
can
now.
see it.
Okay, so my name is Ali Abdo. I'm working at EcoPeace as Advocacy and Government Relation Manager. So thank you for your time and giving us the opportunity to talk about the assessing environment impact in Gaza, turning evidence into readme and non-rescue. So through the previous report, which was provided by UNEP, provide the evidence baseline on environment harm. But my contribution today is practical. What is readme and non-recurrence look like in water and wastewater? So the system where environmental harm become daily public criticals. So, if we are need to talk about transitional justice in wash term, transitional justice is not only legal; it's also whether communities can safely drink and wash and live without at least sewage flooding. So there is three main pillars for transitional justice term. In wash term, we're talking about environment, which related to evidence, related to monitor water quality, overflow mapping, waste and wastewater hotspots. When we are talking about justice, that means protect, repair, and ensure the predictable access for energy and to spare parts and mechanical for the community. Coming back to the health part, which is the really to restore minimum safe water, sanitation, hygiene, and dignity. According to the UNEP report, the UNEP sets evidence baseline during 24 and 25, and it's good to go a good assessment for environmental impact and like pathways, including wash link risks. But from my value, what I will add today, I will translate this baseline into current system status, what's happened on, what's the winter risks and action plan, and what can measurable. According to the field and to the people from our community, from our team in Gaza, as reported to us, there is some evidence from field come. So we are talking about climate stress plus wash collapse. That's mean more accelerating for illness and more issue related to the health. So when climate stress and wash collapse, that's mean move to the less safe water, more waste contamination and sewage damage. This will lead also to lack of hygiene supplies. All that's lead to the accelerated illness diseases spread. According to the current status for Gaza, as reported by WASH Cluster and Palestinian Water Authority, the current water supply, according to December 2025, almost 26,000 cubic meter drinking water per day, which means for 2.5 million people. This around 9,000 cubic meter for domestic people. This led by or coordinated by 46 partners. We are talking about partners, we are talking about local NGOs, international NGOs who are working in the field in partnership with the Coastal Marine Municipality and Palestinian Water Authority to sustain the people life and to keep them resilient through water tracking, water distribution. And this water distributed through around 2,500 water points or water spots. Also, when we are talking about water, we need to talk about wastewater. So the current wastewater in Gaza, none of the wastewater treatment plant is operated or operated since 7th of October. That's led that the quality risk is elevated due to the sewage overflow and flood-driven infiltration, reinforcing the need for systematic monitoring and transparent reporting. This also caused the contamination of the groundwater, contamination of the soil, and caused the spread of the diseases in Gaza Strip and also in the region, as I will present in the coming slides. When we are talking about pumping, it's important. Pumping, we are talking about because we have the sewage, which is like some gallons or area where the wastewater is contaminated or flood in this area. So there was around 20 pumps totally destroyed and 27 partially operated. We are talking about total 47 out of 79 in total. So the sewage ponds now is overflow like Sheikh Radwan in North Gaza, and it's caused contamination and spread diseases in the whole north of Gaza community. Coming to the fourth point, which related to the groundwater well. Now we are talking about that less than 25% of the wells are operated according to the pre-conflict or pre-7th of October evidence and statistical number. So now we had the view about the current status. So what's the bottleneck? What's happening in Gaza? Why this happened? What's the cause this catastrophe? So we have restricted heavy machinery entry from the Israeli side, from the occupation side. So vacuuming, jetting trucks, drainage equipment are not allowed to enter Gaza even before 7th of October, and which cause that limits the flood mitigation. So there is no good management for the floods inside Gaza. When we are talking about wastewater clearance gap, that's need vacuuming and jetting to unblock the network. So now the Coastal Marine Water User Association are working in this activity with only 15 teams inside of Gaza. We are talking about 15 teams serve more than 2.5 million people inside Gaza with the difficult situation with limited access even to inside community. Also, when we are talking about access, it's important that now all border blockage since 7th of October, even before, with limited access to Gaza, so critical machinery need to wait on border with limited approval. Only since 7th October, limited trucks and vehicles enter to Gaza in coordination with the UNDP. Also, when we are talking about fuel, which need energy for operation of the pumps and operation of wastewater treatment plant, operation of all. So there is no at all. There is I would say no. There is limited fuel entry in Gaza, which caused intermittent operation and caused this fluctuation in operation. So as a public health signal, when environmental failure, that's mean public health caused crisis. When infrastructure damage, when we're talking about wash facilities, wash breakdown, that's led to more diseases. According to update from WASH cluster and study assessment during the last period, during December, as reported, as assessed more than 56 of the sample was got ARI diseases, and more than of 31% of the sample which was assisted, they got AWD diseases which related to skin and which related to the to the body. And also we have more than 13% of the sample, they got skin diseases. There's all of that because of less hygiene, less water access, and more wash breakdown and infrastructure damage in Gaza. And this is not health against or vs environment. It's the system. If this it is the same system. Unsafe water and failed sanitation become clinic data within the days. So, coming back to the contamination, according to our study during 2017, sorry, we are talking about more than 8 years. We did the study and we investigated the contamination in the beaches. So, starting from Gaza, as you are aware, before 2017, there was no treatment in Gaza. So, all the sewage was contaminated and moved to the sea. According to our study, we can see that not only affected the Gaza area and the Gaza beach, it's also affected the Ashdod and Ashkelon beach. And there was evidence for this sampling for the soil and for the satellite images that there is contamination even in Tel Aviv beaches. That means that more contamination in Gaza, that's lead more for regional contamination and regional spread diseases and regional catastrophe. So what is working now, and as PWA and several organizations are working in Gaza and try to at least to have the minimum life for people and to be resilient. Operation and coordination and emergency measures. PWA, Palestinian Water Authority, emergency role include fuel cooperation, oversight production, and maintenance access and partner integration inside of Gaza. They are working inside by side with the WASH cluster for sure and with the active organization in Gaza. We have the under emergency WASH operation working together with all related authorities. UNICEF also provided and distributed more than 7,000 hygiene kits for the community in Gaza. Besides that, the Palestinian Authority work on emergency and recovery plan. This as a real roadmap within actual number, estimated number. When let's say it's actual number according to the initial assessment. This map or this roadmap identified 3 phases, starting from emergency response to recovery and to the reconstruction phase. Coming to our interested part, what we are doing as EcoPeace, what we are working on. So during the last period, the EcoPeace, as most of international and local organization, working towards improving and as emergency response for Gaza part. So we developed concept notes aligned with the sectorial plan. We are talking sectorial plan, which means water, energy, and other related sector. So what we are working on to stabilize critical nodes, secure power and fuel, spare parts, chemicals, and to be protected from access for priority. Winterization as life safety, also decentralized resilience, which means solarized microsystem for the community, and evidence for accountability and routine water equality, which we are looking for and testing. On the ground, what we did, we have 2 major integration as major activities. So we work on advocacy part. The advocacy part, we work with our colleague in Tel Aviv office and in Amman office. So we try to enabling the WASH continuously through support to coordination on power. So we contribute in access for power for desalination plan. Our effort was in advocacy part, was part of small contribution, I would say big contribution with other organization. We did also contributed in advocacy effort for access to water through operation of Mekarot line from the north, And also some coordination was related to the energy and wastewater priority in order to do assessment on site for wastewater treatment plant in Gaza. And now we are in coordination with the related authority to do at least initial assessment for those wastewater treatment plant in Gaza. On ground, we have also physical intervention. So we work on water wells rehabilitation and it's an ongoing activity in coordination with related stakeholder. We work also in fleet maintenance for water tracking and jetting for which related to municipalities and coastal municipality water user utilities. And we did also water tracking. Beside that, alongside with the distribution of hygiene kits. Coming back to our concept notes, during the last period and through EU fund, we developed concept notes related to emergency response. As we are aware, that's the main focus now, and the people life couldn't wait. They need immediate humanitarian assistance for Gaza, and according to our sector, which we are working on, as WASH sector. So we proposed, according to our intervention and identification, the main high priority intervention need to be considered for Gazan people. We are talking about small local wells rehabilitation, as we did and as we are doing now, which at least that's been considered for emergency response for the small community. Access for mobile desalination unit. At the moment, the water is very important and essential for the community, but without access for water through rehabilitation of small local wells and mobile desalination units, this will not be easy. And this needs also improving the access to Gaza and opening the gates to enter those material. A third option, which is not sustained, but we need to consider that during the emergency time, which is the water tracking and entry of water, drinking water container, and mobile toilet hygiene kits and other related points. Also, as main priority for the first phase and recovery phase, it's build water resilience in North Gaza, which almost demolished now. When we are talking about emergency response, when we are talking about humanitarian assistance, we are not talking about also access to community. So the second important concept note was the access to Gaza. So we planned and we did this study to have the access through Jordan, Palestine, to passing through West Bank, Israel to Gaza. And this is need to be considered as a humanitarian and economic corridor for recovery of Gaza and the second phase of Gaza. According to our study and our initial assessment, we noted that at least we need 5,500 trucks per day to enter to Gaza, which is a huge number according to the available logistic hub or logistical access for Gaza. When we are talking about 5,500, during the last period, even during the Oslo time, there was only 500 to 600 trucks enter to Gaza per day, considering all gates around Gaza. So that means that we need to work on advocacy effort and to open the gate for Gaza. If you can see from my map, as we just suggested through our concept note, that we need to facilitate opening the LMB bridge, which we are now in West Bank. We are have challenge in even as person to transport from Palestine to Jordan because it's only our gate to the international world. It's only Jordan. So if now LMB bridge now allowing around 250 trucks per day. And we need to advocate to make this more accessible. Also opening the Damia Bridge or Prince Mohammed crossing, which was closed in 2005. This will allow more entrance of goods and trucks from Gaza, from Jordan to the West Bank, and to initiate logistical hub in the Jericho area. Coming back to the north of so to the northern part, which is a port from Haifa or from Netanya, all that will be feed into Gaza side. When we are coming to Gaza side here, because we covered now the northern western part, That means we have three entrances need to be activated. We are talking about Erez Zakim, Erez crossing, and Karni crossing. The three crossing needs to be effective and need to be open 24/7. And also considering the southern part, the southern part, which is related to Rafah crossing and Karim Abu Salim, and we suggested to build logistical hub in this area. When we have this good flow, when we have this good mechanism for entrance of goods and material to Gaza, that's mean less humanitarian issue and less environmental impact to the community. Our third concept note was focused more on day after for wash facilities and infrastructure strategy for Gaza Strip. This is more visionary and more optimistic. So we have three scenarios built for this concept note, which related to scenario one, Palestinian Authority led the governance. The second one, Israeli full occupation. The third one, which is mixed governance, as now it's now happened according to the Trump peace plan and according to the international movement, let's say. According to that, we look to the first short term as we described in the first concept note, while the second one related to the early recovery phase, restoring water and sewage infrastructure, recovery, introduction of a fuel generator, which mean for small scale. The longer term was to rehabilitation and expansion, a critical infrastructure, including wastewater treatment plant, sewage treatment plant, and renewable energy for longer term, which led us to the more visionary concept note, which we built. I will not present it here for big desalination plant, which is for 200 million cubic meter per day, which will serve not only Palestine and Jordan and Israel, also the whole region, according to our vision. So let's say now, as a final closing point, we have three no regret move to prevent the next collapse. The first one is keep system operating. As a recommendation, we're supposed to keep the system operating, secure power and fuel, secure chemicals, spare parts, and protected repair access priority. So it means open the gates to Gaza, stop the contamination of the earth, not only the soil, the air, the water, the beaches, which mean more treatment and to focus on treatment of wastewater, treat of wastewater treatment, pumping, winter dewatering as life safety service. According to the last statistic from WASH cluster and from municipality in Gaza, we have more than 500 million something number. I'm not sure for the number. There was totally under flood from the last winter. And also we are looking to build resilience and not dependency, invest in decentralized redundancy, localized well, mobile, solar, desalination, protected storage, and monitoring this measured by reduced resilience on emergency tracking over the time. Thank you. This is my presentation. If you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative and very clear. Now we'll open the floor to any questions. Feel free also to share any links that are relevant as resources. You can either raise a hand or speak directly or send your question in the chat. Mm. Mhm.
Brian has their hand up and Nancy as
Yes.
well.
Yes, I didn't see who was the first one. So perhaps Nancy can get started.
Okay, I try. Ali, was it really intrigued that you said that there was like a no regrets scenario? And I just wondered, of course, I'm sure like most of us have regrets for how things have happened and things we would have wanted to do better at different times. But I just wonder, who are you presenting these concept notes to? And what is the impact?
So we developed 5 concept notes. This is part of EU project, funded project. 3 concept notes which I presented. The other one related to Nexus for integration of the region with water, energy, and the peace triangle concept. You can refer to our website and can share with you the information. And the 5th one was related to generating of energy. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to present more about energy needs for wash needs in Gaza. So the investing in energy in Area C, so in Area C in West Bank for solar. So we presented those for stakeholder, for national stakeholder, international stakeholder. We had presentation in Brussels, also in Napoli. I was in Napoli last month in December for U.S. government, for all related stakeholder and parliament and international organizations.
And then with a follow-up question, if I may, what was the reaction?
So there is a lot of action. There is, let's say, different action points on those concept notes. If we are talking about the first one, we are taking the lead on the ground with other organizations to work with the people. We are working now on, let's say, more deep visibility study. For example, the humanitarian corridor, which we have the pre-feasibility study, which was conducted last year, and now we are working on more deep feasibility study and technical study related to those concept notes, because those are still under preparation. The concept notes are draft, and they are living documents. Actually, sometimes we need to update the concept notes twice per week, according to the updates in Gaza and to the regional updates, the political and the economic status.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Brian, maybe you can ask your question.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation, both. Ali, this question is for you. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about the flooding situations with the rains and the winter weather and the tent encampments, specifically in Al Mawasi and other areas where drainage is poor and there tends to be flooding in these residential areas. Can you talk more about the severity of that issue and what the plans are to address that? Thank you.
Well, to be honest and to be transparent, I'm not part of the people who are working on ground. I live in West Bank, which is a different part of Palestine, but we are working together with other related organizations. I can present to you the last update, let's say from, if you can see my screen,
Yeah.
just for a minute. Sorry. So according to the last updates, there was flash floods in Gaza. In North Gaza, there was more than 126 millimeter raining. In Gaza, also 118. All of that, it's more than 30% of the annual average. And it's come in one snapshot as flash floods. It's happened. Those led to catastrophe and caused a lot of, let's say, problem for community in Gaza. Actually, on the ground, WASH cluster partners and CMW, PWA are working on dewatering of the floods with the limitation of mechanism and jetting and vacuuming pumps. Only 15 teams who are working now in Gaza with, again, with limited and few access to fuel and to the machinery to help people and to be resilient.
Thank you. I have, before I take the question from Leonie, I have a question that was written, so I will just read it. A question from Mazin. What can the international actors do to support the issues you raised?
Well, I think the first thing is to get knowledge about the subjects and learn about what's going on the ground and its connectivity to global issues, because this is not a local issue and the ecocide is global. As you know, with climate change, for example, the military is now producing huge amounts of greenhouse gases. Israel produced more greenhouse gases in the past 2 years of bombing Gaza, and bombing other countries, actually. Just from jet fuel alone, flying, they estimate about 1.5 million sorties, as they call them, produced more greenhouse gases than many countries like Spain produced from all their sources of greenhouse gases combined. And the military, as you know, in all countries, in Western countries, in the US and Australia, and certainly the Israeli military, doesn't have to report its damage to the environment or its destruction of the environment. So I think it's very important to get the facts laid out and studied as much as we can gather them, as I said, with the limitations of research possibilities within Gaza itself now. But there are other ways of getting these key figures, numbers, like with remote sensing, GIS, etc., but also with public records in terms of the kinds of bombs that they used, etc. So first is getting the knowledge. The second thing is to act on this knowledge. And what does that mean? We can act via the usual popular resistance methods. I wrote a book about popular resistance, be it demonstrations, civil disobedience, legal cases, boycott, divestment, sanctions, like we did with South Africa under apartheid. There are hundreds of forms of popular resistance which we can engage in. Educating fellow human beings, hosting seminars like this is actually a form of resistance to the ecocide. So certainly there are many, many possibilities for people to act. They could also come and volunteer here, help us in our community garden or permaculture or eco-friendly agriculture, or by supporting people directly, like with water purification kits and other things. There are many ways that people can help, but the key to it is all to begin to study the situation. Knowledge is power, and telling truth to power is certainly also part of this action.
Right. Thank you. Now, Leonie, if you want to share your question.
Hi, yeah, thanks to both of the speakers. Yeah, kind of informative but devastating, as I guess we knew it would be. I guess my question is around, like, the EU funded the EcoPeace study, Ali, but is there any indication that they would try and sort of enforce any of the recommendations through taking any more concrete steps towards Israel to, like, for example, let the trucks through? Or
Well, on practical, as EcoPeace, you ask for EcoPeace or for the EU?
but yeah, EU, I guess. or
No,
like
yeah. So we supported, we submitted our concept notes. We had a meeting with the EU 2 times in Brussels, and in person, it was in person. We participated several conference and meeting. On the EU level, yes, they are working on it, but you know the current status on the ground. It's difficult for access to Gaza, even for a humanitarian organization. There was order from Israeli side to eliminate around 36 organizations, even from EU to stop working in West Bank and Gaza. So yes, they advocate to work with us, they advocate to support us, but also we are as EcoPeace, we are still working on those concept notes. We did fundraising for several visibility study and technical study as mentioned, in order to have evidence on the ground, to have verification about our concept notes. And we did a lot of advocacy effort, the whole world, not only from on the EU level, also from US, from any participation on any conference or meeting with the stakeholder on the government level or in the private sector level, because we don't need to forget the contribution and the strengthening of private sector and economic people in this field. I hope my question give you the answer.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I have another question from the chat, so I'll read it out. This is for Ali as well. Does the water intervention include intervention to water in agriculture as well?
Well, it's a difficult question because people in Gaza now needs to drink at least. There is intervention when we are assessing as WASH activity, it's only related to the domestic use, as I presented in my presentation. There is another subsidized activity or subsidized tracking for agriculture, but it's not the priority according to our work because we are working on WASH sector.
Okay, yeah, understood.
Also, I need to differentiate. We have 2 types of domestic water. We have clean water for washing and cooking and other related, which might be saline because of the salinity, of water in Gaza, it's very high. And we have the domestic for drinking water, which only for drinking. So we need to differentiate between those 2 water tracking in Gaza.
Okay, yeah. Right. Is there any other question? I think we took some that were in the chat.
I also inserted my email and our website. So if you have
Yes.
any question related to the concept note, if you are interested to see more the concept notes, the visibility study, we are working now on visibility study for electrify railway to connect the IMEC, the Indian Middle East Europe corridor, with the Palestinian side passing through West Bank to Gaza, which will support the second or the recovery or rehabilitation phase in the coming future. There's a lot of integration and visibility study I can benefit and can share with you. If you are interested, please share with me on my email.
Thank you.
Can I just ask on the WASH cluster, like, are they still going to be able to continue given Israel's trying to ban those organizations? Is that
Yeah, the WASH cluster, yeah, they are working on the ground. We are talking about the local and international organization who are working in the field. And they still keep movement. For example, for us, when we did the wells rehabilitation, you asked me how you did the well rehabilitation if there is no entrance of good or spare parts from out of Gaza. So the suppliers and the contractor collected the demolished part or the unused part or the old machine or old pumps from wells to well in order to operate one well, which is in good condition. So yes, there is activity ongoing in Gaza with the limited resources, with the second hand, or with the, let's say, which was before the war, it's unused material. They don't care about it, but now it's important for use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We've received another question for Mazin. You talked about draining of the wetlands. Have they been rehabilitated?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't hear. You talked about the draining of wetlands. Have they been rehabilitated or restored?
No, I mean, the Hula wetland, Israel, after many decades, allowed some area to have some water in it. And we know of one species of toad that apparently survived and came back after this event. But most wetlands in our region, in Palestine, historic Palestine, which is now under Israeli sovereignty, most wetlands have been destroyed beyond repair, and most open water sources in the West Bank, for example, have been plugged up as Israel diverted the water so that the Palestinians don't have access to open water. This, of course, not only impacts the indigenous Palestinians, but it impacts also the wildlife like frogs and birds and other animals that use these water sources. And we did some studies on some of these springs and how devastating to the biodiversity has been the plugging of the open flow of springs out when Israel actually took the water directly and prevented the usual flow of water. I mentioned the Jordan River Basin, for example. That's the usual flow of water was 1,350 million cubic meters. Now it's 20 million cubic meters. The impact is actually devastating, including in the so-called Dead Sea. Dead Sea is neither dead nor a sea. Lake Lot, basically, sinkholes developing around it. 40% of its surface area is gone already. It's been shrinking, and it's decreasing in volume significantly. As Israel also extends the extractions of Dead Sea salts and so forth from it. So it's becoming more and more an ecological disaster, actually, even for tourism, because there used to be a lot of tourism around the Dead Sea. As the Dead Sea shrinks, it's very hard to plan. And you put a hotel next to the water edge, and then the water edge recedes by about 1 or 2 meters a year. You have a problem. So for tourism, even in the area.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I can perhaps give the floor to the speakers and invite them to share any final thoughts. So perhaps Mazin can start, and then Ali.
Well, I think, my brief thoughts at the end, I don't want to leave you very depressed, but the state of the world is the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That K-shaped economy, as I call it, the billionaires that are now meeting in Davos as we speak. I disrupted Davos one time, by the way, with an article about boycotting Israel. And this was many years ago. but Davos continues to attract world elites discussing how to destroy our planet better and how to deprive more people of their rights, to land, of their rights to water, of their rights to a clean environment, to healthy living. So these rich people, elites that are meeting in Davos, are the most powerful elites in human history that we can see. And they are putting us in endless wars, and now they're even turning on each other in terms of the elites in Europe and the United States. So Europe will have to defend Greenland, and maybe also the U.S. is thinking of other sources, other places to pillage basically the polar areas, and then of course Venezuela and Panama and Ukraine, which is now being divided basically, and its natural resources are being auctioned off to satisfy Trump and elites. So basically, it's we are in trouble, and unless we humans gather our forces together, all the people who are impacted, who we need our children and grandchildren to still be able to live on this planet, and we don't have any other planet. I know Musk is thinking about taking his rich buddies with him to Mars someday and starting a new colony on Mars. But this is very troubling. You know, we have this one blue planet, and we really need to protect it. And it's not just the issue of Palestine, but it's everywhere. Water scarcity now. There was a new report just released from the UN university researchers, which showed that basically water scarcity is going to accelerate. And they explain this not because water is short on this planet, it's again because of this inequality, this lack of proper distribution, where the elites steal the water of the poor people and use it to control them and manage them and destroy their lives. So we need to get our own act together as people of conscience, as environmentalists, as researchers, as activists, build coalitions, network together. I put my email also in the chat room if people want to email me and see what we are doing. I'm attending a session right after this at 7 o'clock on bioremediation in Gaza, and basically a training course going over for several weeks. And we are talking about how do we restore soil from contaminants and things like that. So there's always things to do. If each of us does a little bit, even collectively, we can make a huge difference. Thank you.
Thank you for those thoughts and insights. Ali, if you want to go with your final thoughts.
Yes, thank you, everybody. So to close, just I want to bring us back to why this discussion matter in a transitional justice setting. So according to UNEP assessment, it's help establish an evidence baseline for environmental harm. But what practitioner first today in Gaza not only damages its cycle of fragility and fragile functionality, partial service delivery that can collapse overnight when the enabling conditions disappeared in water and also wastewater. So that fragility is the difference between manageable and crisis and rapid escalation, especially in winter when flooding and overflow turn infrastructure damage into contamination pathway. So, if we can, or if we want to this conversation to lead somewhere else for concrete toward Ottawa and beyond, we need to agree at least on three practical commitments. Coming back to first slide, which I presented, and to the last one. So the first one related to README, which must be defined and in operational terms, a minimum safe service package for water, sanitation, and hygiene that is measurable and fundable even under constraints and crisis. The second one related to the evidence needs a shared standard for routine water quality monitoring, priority of points, systematic logging of overflow, and bonding incident and service contingency tracking for key wash nodes, let's say. Not for paperwork also, but to guide repairs and prioritize scarce resources and support transparency. The first one, or the third point, which related to non-recurrence, which is WASH is not an abstract. It means predictable, enabling conditions, protected access for technical teams, continuity of energy and fuel, where necessary entry of spare parts and consumable, and also ensuring the access to specialized equipment. Without those, we may rehabilitate assets, but we will not sustain services. As we are believe as EcoPeace role alongside with partners on the ground, it's to help translate this evidence into implementable, no regret again package, and to advocate more for enabling conditions that keep essential service running. My hope and ask for people here, and also for our partner in Gaza, our community, and for the international community which we are working with, that let us treat water and wastewater stability as a practical test for case for transitional justice, where README evidence and non-recurrence can be defined, measured, and delivered. Thank you, and inshallah look forward for more discussion, and please feel free to contact me anytime.
Thank you for those words. I would like to close this event by thanking the speakers for your research and for sharing insights from this research. It was very informative session, and I think everyone here learned a lot. And yeah, this session will also be has been recorded, and the record will be posted on YouTube, on the YouTube channel of the Environmental Peace Building, so that other people can access it. I also want to thank everyone who asked questions. There was also very interesting discussions after the presentations. Please feel free to look at the different links and research that was posted in the chat, and also if you like continue the discussion with the speakers over email. This is it, I think, from my side. So I would like to thank you again and wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.